This is Danish-InfoNewsTV, your Danish English news updates and business from January 10th through 14th. Here are today's top stories: a kiosk bombing and the arrest of a gang member linked to the attack, a nurse convicted in Denmark's largest phone fraud case, a 70-year-old sentences for aiding pimping, new government food allowance measures, and much more. Stay tuned. To the first of our main story, Saturday, January 10th, gang member arrested after kiosk bombing in Istigel. On Wednesday evening, January 8th, police and emergency services responded to reports of a very loud bang at Istigel 120 in Vesterbro. Shortly afterwards, a kiosk was on fire, no one was injured, and the fire was quickly extinguished. Police described the incident as suspicious and cordoned off a large section of the street. 2 young suspects were remanded in custody at a closed-use institution until January 26, while a third person was released. Later, Copenhagen police arrested a 19-year-old Jordanian citizen identified as a gang member. He will appear before a judge, and it is unclear whether he is the same individual previously released. To the second of our main story, from Monday, January 12th, nurse convicted in large phone fraud case. In Denmark's largest phone fraud case to date, nurse Christina Akina Matras was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in prison by Copenhagen City Court. She was found guilty on all 6 counts of fraud and attempted fraud for posing as police officer and exploiting victims' trust, defrauding them of millions of krona through luxury purchases, foreign transfers, loans, car purchases, and gold bars. She has appealed the verdict, seeking acquittal or reduced sentence, but remains in pre-trial detention due to the risk of reoffending. To the second of our main story, from Tuesday, January 13th, 70-year-old sentenced for aiding pimping. A 70-year-old man was sentenced to 3 months in prison by Viborg District Court for aiding and abetting pimping. He knowingly rented out 5 properties used as brothels and installed video surveillance, earning at least 1 million krona. The court emphasized that renting to criminals while ignoring illegal activity constitutes serious complicity and is punishable. The addresses were in Karup, Chile, Sunds, Skive, and Olstrup. The man is considering whether to appeal. To a different main story, from Tuesday, January 13th, government food allowance. The government plans to allocate 4.5 billion krona to a food allowance for pensioners, people outside the labor market, and low-income families affected by rising food prices. The exact amount per recipient is not yet finalized. Social Democrat spokesperson Christian Robia Madsen has said the allowance should be measured in thousands of krona to make a real difference. A CPOS estimate suggested just over 2,500 krona per year per person, or roughly 7 krona per day. Negotiations with parliamentary parties are ongoing, and the government hopes to implement the payments quickly. Now to some other news. We begin on Saturday, January 10th. Surge in Greenlandic flag sales. Denmark's largest flag manufacturers report a sharp increase in sales of Greenlandic flags. Afalasaput rising from 3 to 5% of orders to around 90%. Man charged after pushing person in freight train. A man has been charged for allegedly pushing another man into a passing freight train at Middelfart station. The victim is in stable condition. Prison protest after inmate death. Inmates at Kauskohill prisoners protest after the death of an inmate, claiming inadequate medical care. Swedish man arrested after violent home invasion. A 27-year-old Swedish man was arrested for brutal home robbery near Faxe, where an elderly couple was stabbed. He will be extradited to Denmark, where he will be facing charges. Sunday, January 11th. 67-year-old caught reckless driving. A man drove 166 kilometers per hour in an 80 zone during a test drive and now faces a driving ban, prison, and car confiscation. Man charged with rape and robbery. A 34-year-old man was arrested and charged after alleged rape and robbery of a woman in Ghana. School election 2026 announced. Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen announced school election 2026 involving students from 700 schools across Denmark. News from Monday, January 12th. Serious head-on collision. 2 people were seriously injured after a head-on crash near Ringsted. Several victims were airlifted to hospital. Drug dealers jailed, car confiscated. A man and a woman were sentenced to 1 year in prison each for drug dealing. Their sales car was confiscated for the first time under new rules in the area. Prison sentences in pirate taxi case. Several men were jailed for organized illegal taxi operations, fraud and theft. 4 were deported with re-entry bans. Woman awarded compensation. A woman received compensation after authorities wrongly shared her personal data with her abuser. Teenagers convicted of violent assault. 4 teenage boys were convicted for a brutal assault on 2 younger boys in a forest area. Over 1,000 charges against 17-year-old drivers. New figures show a sharp rise in traffic offenses by 17-year-old drivers since rule changes in 2025. Charges for walking on unsafe ice. Several people were fined for walking on frozen lakes, deemed unsafe. Police warn against dangerous ice conditions. Reisecord accused of misleading marketing. The company behind Reisecord may have misled customers about the closure of the physical travel card. Fire safety orders for nightclubs. Over 60% of inspected Danish nightclubs received safety orders after nationwide checks. Few convictions for pickpocketing. Despite over 114,000 theft reports in 7 years, fewer than 1,000 convictions were secured. Director charged with wage fraud. A company director is charged with large-scale fraud involving manipulated payroll documents. Parking fines are up sharply in Copenhagen. Parking fines in central Copenhagen rose nearly 50% after parking spaces were removed. Border control costs reached 240 million euros. 10 years of temporary border control with Germany has cost Danish police around 1.8 billion krona. Tuesday, January 13th. Woman wins parking fee case. A woman won her case against parking company Europark in the High Court, ruling she does not have to pay reminder fees she says she never received. Turkish citizen deported after violent robbery. A 22-year-old Danish citizen and a 28-year-old Turkish citizen were sentenced to 2 years and 2.5 years in prison for robbery and serious assault in Kolding. The Turkish citizen was deported from Denmark for 12 years. 4 jailed after brutal assault in Copenhagen. 4 men aged 17 to 18 were remanded in custody for 24 days after a violent attack on a 15-year-old boy involving knives, kicks, and punches in a parking garage. 2 children seriously injured in traffic accident. 2 children were critically injured in a traffic accident in Ringsted involving 6 people. Director fired from care institution. The managing director of the Fulund residential care facility in Kjellerup was dismissed with immediate effect. Authorities announced stricter supervision and issued 4 orders. Shopping baskets stolen on Bornholm. Supermarkets on Bornholm report frequent theft of shopping baskets, costing stores thousands of krona each year and prompting appeal to customers to leave baskets behind. Wednesday, January 14th. Police seek witnesses after assault in Sunnabo. A 30-year-old man was hospitalized with serious injuries after being forced into a car and violently assaulted Tuesday evening. Police believe the people involved knew each other. Man sentenced for rape of disabled woman. A 25-year-old man was sentenced to psychiatric confinement for twice raping a woman with spastic paralysis after breaking into her home through a window. He was caught after returning a third time and triggering an emergency alarm. 16-year-old arrested for fraud against elderly. Police arrested a wanted 16-year-old in Copenhagen, suspected of multiple fraud cases targeting elderly victims across several towns, involving cash withdrawals totaling 92,000 krona and stolen jewelry. A citizen tip led to his identification. Mayor attacked on Christmas Eve. Brøndby's mayor, Maja Højgaard, Social Democrats, had a concrete stone thrown through her living room window on Christmas Eve. She expressed concern for her children's safety. Police are seeking witnesses. Data Protection Authority investigates Reisekort app. Denmark's Data Protection Authority continues a long-running investigation into whether the Reisekort app collects excessive user data. The case may extend beyond summer while awaiting guidance from the European Data Protection Board. Drug-impaired driver caught at 206 km per hour. A 34-year-old man was stopped for driving 206 km per hour on the Køge-Bugt motorway. He tested positive for cannabis. His car was seized and his license revoked, pending a judge's decision on confiscation. Head-on bus collision with serious injuries. Two buses collided head-on Lanevine in Hornslet, leaving several people seriously injured. Police launch new communication channel. Police are launching a new platform called Politi Update, available via police websites, politiupdate.dk and Ritzau services, supplementing previous use of X, formerly Twitter. Husforbi earns from a bottle deposit scheme. Since 2023, the magazine Husforbi has earned 1.5 million Danish kroner through an agreement with Copenhagen Airport to collect abandoned bottle deposits, totaling 8 tons of cans and bottles last year. Now to Danish business news from January 10th through 14th. Rockwool shares fall after loss of control in Russia. Rockwool share price dropped 2.2% at market open on Thursday after the company announced it has lost control of its 4 factories in Russia. Bang & Olufsen post second quarter loss. The company reported a 53 million krona loss in the second quarter, with revenue down to 576 million krona, leaving it 90 million krona short of breaking even midway through the year. Inflation eases. Consumer prices were 1.9% higher in December compared with year earlier, down from 2.1% in November, according to Statistics Denmark. Number of multimillionaires doubles. Since 2014, the number of Danes with assets above 10 million Danish krona has doubled, reaching 19,143 people in 2024. Apartment prices surge. Apartment prices rose 15.3% in 2025, about twice the national increase in house prices, which climbed 7.5%. Price gains were even stronger in Copenhagen. Vestas cuts jobs. Wind turbine maker Vestas plans to lay off 70 of its 330 employees at its Ringkøbing factory while seeking deployment options to limit redundancies. Maersk tests Red Sea route. Maersk has sent another vessel through the Bab al-Mandab Strait, cautiously testing the route after the Gaza ceasefire raised hope of safer shipping. DFDS names new CEO. DFDS appointed Mikkel Hansen as president and CEO, effective July 1st of 2026, succeeding Torben Carlsen as part of the company's transition. Lego reveals Pokemon partnership. LEGO will launch its Pokemon collaboration on February 27, starting with 3 sets, including a 2050-piece Pikachu and Pokeball set. Fashion group Bestseller layoffs. Bestseller is cutting 135 jobs in Denmark as part of ongoing organizational adjustments. That's all for today's headlines from Danish-InfoNewsTV. Please like the video, share it, and subscribe to Danish-InfoNewsTV for more news from Denmark and beyond. Thank you for watching. See you next time.